Welcome to Ask the Church, our video series where we seek to answer your questions about church worship, practice, or theology in under 5 minutes. Today's question is about Thanksgiving. Why is it such an important Christian virtue? Now, I have a confession to make. I was the one who submitted this question, but it seemed to me appropriate given the importance of Thanksgiving and given the fact that we're coming right up to Thanksgiving, the holiday. Thanksgiving is interesting because it's one of those Christian virtues that's also a secular virtue. The secular world values Thanksgiving. It views it as a part of good manners and being a healthy person. But all the justification in the world that you might hear in the secular world for Thanksgiving doesn't even begin to approach the importance of Thanksgiving as a Christian virtue. Put bluntly, Thanksgiving is what it means to be a follower of God. It is the basic posture of the soul that trusts God. You could say that Thanksgiving is faith in action. Faith in action. It's impossible to be a Christian, in other words, and not practice Thanksgiving, not be a thankful person. Thanksgiving is one of the primary ways that we follow God. It's good to note that whenever we talk about Thanksgiving, we're talking about two things. We're talking about a disposition of the heart, but we're also talking about external actions, being a thankful person, but also giving thanks, heart and action. If you have the heart, the action's going to naturally follow. A person with a thankful heart will give thanks. But when we don't have the heart, the way that we gain the heart of thankfulness is actually to begin to practice the action. By doing it, we are changed. It's heart and it's action. And if we don't have the heart, the best thing we can do is actually start doing the action. But back to the claim that I made, that Thanksgiving is what it means to be a follower of God, that is the basic posture of a soul that trusts God. We see this in the scriptures in a number of places. Luke 17 is a great example. There's a story of Jesus cleansing 10 lepers. And as they realize that they're cleansed, one returns to him to give thanks. And Jesus looks at the man and says, "We're not 10 cleansed. Where are they?" But then he looks at the one and he says, "Your faith has made you well. It has saved you." The Greek word means both things. And you say, Jesus is distinguishing from the 10 who are cleansed and the one who actually is made whole or made well. And he says it's your faith that has done it. But then you say, well, where's the man's faith? It was in the posture of thanksgiving to Jesus. That same claim could be made out of Romans 1, where you see that the whole world has become darkened in its understanding and fallen into all sorts of sin. And you say, what went wrong? And the claim made in Romans 1 is even though they knew God, they didn't honor him or give thanks. Thanksgiving is the break point. My father is fond of saying that it's the continental divide of the human soul. It's what changes everything. You see it in Psalm 50 where God tells his people, I don't need your sacrifices. What I want actually is a sacrifice of thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is the basic posture of the soul that trusts God. We can actually understand its importance by its opposite. When you refuse to give thanks, it's really one of two things that springs out of. One is pride, the basic posture that says, I earned it. I'm enough on my own. I don't need to acknowledge anyone else. To refuse to give thanks is pride. The other thing that the refusal to give thanks is covetousness. The basic sort of disposition of the soul that says what I have is not enough. The angry sense that I deserve more. We understand the importance of thanksgiving when we realize that refusing to give thanks is an act of pride or covetousness. Thanksgiving, in its positive sense, is the disposition of the soul that says what I have is a gift. What I have is a gift ultimately from a good God. In other words, thanksgiving is a movement of humility. But thanksgiving is also the statement, the sort of disposition of the soul that says what I need, he will provide. In other words, thanksgiving springs from faith. It recognizes that God has been good and will be. In other words, to give thanks is to be a person of faith. It's to be a person of patience, willing to wait on God's provision. As we come to the American holiday of Thanksgiving, I would encourage you to actually recognize that Thanksgiving is one of the most primal Christian virtues. It's faith in action because it looks at God and says, you've been good to me, and I trust you to be good to me in every way that I need in the future. So if you don't find your heart thankful, the best thing that you could do is to actually act it out, to begin to give thanks. I hope that this helps. As always, thanks for watching this edition of Ask the Church. If you have questions, send them to Stephen@incarnationrichmond.org. And now go in the grace of our God.